What's up, guys? Rick here with your preview for this week's Phoenix Open. And quick PSA right off the top. I am on the call for PGA Tour Live this week. This is the betcast that ran, I think it was 6 or 8 weeks last year for 2 hours a day. That has been ramped up 8 times that. So 12 weeks this year, 8-hour shows where it's very betting focused. It's very fantasy and data and try to whip you around to as many holes and players and all of that fun stuff as possible. It's a show that has gotten better every time we've done it. So I'm excited about getting back onto it and getting the support from the PGA Tour and from DraftKings, who sponsors it, and from you guys who watch it. So much appreciated on that. Please tune in this week. It'll be every day this week. I don't know what time it starts, but it's for 8 hours on ESPN Plus. Because I'm traveling to Florida, I've got to go to Ponte Vedra to go to PGA Tour Studios. I'm doing that on Wednesday. So the live chat for this week is Tuesday. I'm sorry about that. Sorry if that's any inconvenience, but we're just going to move it a day forward forward. Tuesday, 3 p.m. Eastern time. So get your questions, your concerns, your comments in very, very quickly. And then I will see you guys from the studios and it'll be a really great time. Okay. Let's jump into this week. It is going to be an outstanding event. You know, a lot of people almost think of this like the one of the starting points of the PGA Tour season because football is winding down. This coincides with the Super Bowl. It's just a big fun week. I love TPC Scottsdale. You know, I think actually the golf course gets overshadowed a little bit because of the raucousness of this event and how hundreds of thousands of people are going to show up and be absolutely maniacs. Like, cool. So what I love about this golf course is a few things. If you look over here on the right-hand side, the finishing stretch from 11 on, it's one of my favorite finishing stretches. You've got difficult holes, you've got easy holes, you've got par fives that are gettable, you've got a drivable par four, but there's water all over the place. You can put up a big number pretty quickly. You've got to go through the gauntlet that is 16, which is really just a simple wedge shot that these guys make look very much more difficult because there's 30,000 people screaming down at you and all that fun stuff. So it's just a really great closing stretch where we have seen guys go nuts and post something really low on that stretch. And we've seen guys kick golf tournaments away there. So a lot of volatility coming down the home stretch. I also think that a lot of weeks we say, or I say, and I'm certainly guilty of this, that a golf tournament is going to be a complete test, a complete test. It's going to ask you for every facet of your game, right? Like, whatever that phrase is, that is really, really true here. You know, off the tee, you not only have the desert, right? So if you are wayward, you're in the sand, there's rocks, there's obviously like cactus and plants and vegetation and all that stuff that you've got to play out of. There's water in play on 6 holes that is not only in play on some drives, but also some approaches. I think that this course, more than any other course, well, I shouldn't say that, but like certainly top 5, really rewards not only iron play, but distance control. The way these green complexes are, you have got to be on the right level. You have got to give yourself the proper look at these putts. And not only do you have to be sharp with your approaches, but you have to hit it the number that you are trying to hit it, which means carry distance, spin control, all that fun stuff. So it really is an opportunity to show off the approach play. And then when you get on around and on the greens, you know, there's some really tight areas around the greens. You've got, sometimes it's difficult to get up and down these collection areas. It asks you to do literally everything. And then it throws, you know, 200,000 people yelling at you. From a statistical standpoint, you're going to see the highest correlated stats are, par 5 scoring. That's one of the most correlated. There's only 3 par 5s here. You kind of really have to take advantage of them. There's only one other course on the PGA Tour schedule in which par 5 scoring is more correlated to success. Then you see some putting numbers, putting from outside of 20 feet, putting from outside of 25 feet, highly correlated. Those are your bonus. Those are your scoring. Strokes gained around the green is a top 15 stat. You really don't see that often. You know, there's not a lot of places in which you see strokes gained around the green pop up on top of the course key stats model like that. And then you get a lot of approach stats. Proximity to the hole, well, that's from around the green. Approach is inside 100 yards. 75 to 100, 150 to 175, 125 to 150. So not only are you asked a lot of different questions, but you're on approach, but you're asked a lot of different questions from a lot of different areas, a lot of different buckets. Sometimes it's wedges, sometimes it's longer iron, sometimes you have a choice of how you want to hit it off the tee and give yourself an opportunity to get back, to get access to those pins. So when you look at all of that and you take the strokes gain metrics, it's no surprise that you see some guys get some pretty big adjustments on the approach side of things. Scotty Scheffler, massive adjustment. We're going to talk a lot about Scotty, obviously, but his approach play is elite. His distance control is better than anybody in the world. It's actually what I think he does best on approach. And he's never pin high, or never not pin high, never misses it in the wrong spot. Fantastic. Victor Hovland gets a nice adjustment. Nikolai Højgaard, Akshay Bhatia, amongst others. You're watching them right there. I did rule out, or I did cross over Christopher Reed, and he only has 72 measured radar shots, so a small sample size there. Then you start looking at how the putting works, and you've got mostly an average golf course proximity wise from putting buckets, right? So you get some guys that get some adjustments here, but they're all just good putters. It's Sam Burns, Hao Tong Lee, Harry Hall, Cam Young. Even Scotty Scheffler gets a pretty good adjustment here because he doesn't end up accessing a lot of like the only place that he kind of struggles from is that, you know, inside 5 feet, and not a lot of guys are hitting it inside 5 feet, and he doesn't lose a lot here. So you get the big adjustments. So the overall course fit. Scotty Scheffler, Michael Brennan, who we will talk about, Emilio Gonzalez, that's a little bit of a small sample size. Victor Hovland, Pearson Coody, Xander Schauffele get the biggest adjustments. Brooks Koepka's up there. Corey Connors is up there. A lot of really good names. So I think that there's a lot to talk through. I just don't want to waste any more time. Let's jump into this. This is the cheat sheet. All of this is my website, rickrungood.com. Let's start with Scotty Scheffler. And I sat here like a dingus. And, you know, 2 weeks ago, it was like, oh, I don't know if, you know, if Scotty can win the American Express. It's involved, whatever. Destroyed the field. Just he's insane. This is now like one of the best spots for him. So this is a golf tournament, or a golf course, I should say, that magnifies and rewards his strengths. The ability to drive it long enough and accurately to keep it out of the desert, the distance control, the short game demands, all of that stuff that we just talked about. And it's no surprise that he's dominated here. So he's picked up like 2.5 strokes per round at the Phoenix Open, which is the third. It's by far the most of anybody in this field, career wise, with, you know, just a small minimum. I'll put a minimum of 4 starts in. So he's at 2.59. It's a third of a stroke better than Xander Schauffele. It's a half stroke better than Brooks Koepka and Hideki Matsuyama. And then it's a full stroke better than the 5th place guy, Jordan Spieth. And when you look at Scotty, even by his like crazy standards, this is a high-end golf course for him. The only places that he has gained more strokes per round are Muirfield Village and Augusta National. He's won twice at each of those two. So he's also won twice here. I think if you are, I was going to say exposing yourself to Scotty Scheffler, it's everywhere. I think there's plenty of value if you want to get him into DFS lineups. I think that you could bet him at plus 210. That's crazy. I think you could. I think you could just basically access him anywhere. It's really good stuff, obviously, and it's good stuff by even his own standards, which is fun as well. The only other man in the 10K range on DraftKings is Xander Schauffele. So massive gap, a $4,000 difference between Scotty and Xander, and then a $600 gap between Xander Schauffele and Siwoo Kim. Maybe not a name that you were expecting to see there. I'll be interested to see what the industry does with Xander. It's just been such a bizarre couple of years. The history here is fantastic because he's such a great ball striker and he's such a great tee to green player, but he hasn't played here since 2023. And we've seen him, I don't want to say dominate, but like, you know, dominated at the Bay Current and won that. Looked pretty miserable around Farmers last week. He's looked dull more than he has looked sharp in the last year and a half. And the pricing's a little bit awkward because guys that are priced below him on DraftKings are like playing significantly better golf. So this is just kind of a really awkward spot for Xander. I think that it might be a little bit too early to run him out in a one and done situation, but I do kind of like running him out in some high upside spots, some game theory spots. If for whatever reason we get to Wednesday and the projected ownership on Xander Schauffele is like 9% because everybody's either going up to Scotty or going down to Siwoo or whatever, like that might be an interesting spot because I do think I'm certain he has the upside to win this golf tournament or at least contend late. I just worry that he's like a couple of bad swings away from finding the water and also going home early this week. And now the cut streak is a missed cut streak of 2 in a row instead of a made cut streak. So it's just kind of an awkward situation. The 9K range though is filled with golfers. And we need to have the discussion around Siwoo Kim because barring outside of not winning, Siwoo Kim has been like, you couldn't ask for a better start in 2026. So he's played all 3 times and he's gone T11, T6, T2 with some insane ball striking numbers. The putter, we've talked about this a million times. It's very, very difficult to watch, but statistically, at least over his last 8 rounds, he's been basically a 0 putter, which is all you can ask for him at this point because I don't see him making any significant gains anytime soon. The history here is solid as well. 4 straight top 26 finishes. He hasn't missed a cut since 2020. And over his last 3 trips, so that's over his last 12 rounds at TPC Scottsdale, he is basically gaining 5.5 strokes total in terms of putting. So a little less than half a stroke per round at this golf course on the putting surfaces. The other thing to consider is if you go to the power rankings, and you look at this, we could do this from a lot of different ways. Let's say last 50 rounds, everybody in this field sorted by strokes gained approach. I'm pretty sure Siwoo's like the second best player in this field. It's like Scotty Scheffler, then Siwoo Kim. So Scotty's at 1.14. Austin Smotherman's in there too, but he does not have as many PGA Tour rounds. But Scotty is 1.14, Siwoo is 1.08. I mean, we are getting a guy who over the last 50 rounds is comparable, almost very comparable, within 0.2 of a stroke ball striking as Scotty Scheffler. Now, Scotty's crushing him with the putter, another stroke plus, and Scotty's also beating him around the green, not badly, but another 1/10 of a stroke. So the total is, almost a stroke and a quarter, but Siwoo is just dialed in the ball striking categories, which makes him exciting and the success around this venue. Cameron Young and Hideki Matsuyama did nothing last week to deter my optimism. A very solid, just T22 from Cam Young, in which he did what you want to see. He picked up 5.5 strokes from tee to green in the 3 measured rounds. He lost a half a stroke with the putter. It was all very good. It wasn't spectacular, but a T22 in your first start of 2026 is what you're looking for. Back-to-back top 12 finishes here, a T12 and a T8 for Cam Young, in which he's picked up over 12 strokes putting. So if that's the missing link, all good. Cam Young, like, right back at it. I'm going to favorite him right now so that I don't forget. Hideki is one of those top 5, like I mentioned, guys who have gained over 2 strokes per round at this venue. Now, I will say a lot of that damage was done in his first handful of starts. He's never missed a cut here. He withdrew in 2018, but he's never missed a cut. And his last 3 are top 30 finishes, but his best finish in that span was a T22. So the stuff that counts a lot are the 4th, the runner-up, the win in his first 4 starts here between 2014 and 2017. So that, remember that. So if we just look at, actually, I guess we could just do this. Let's just do everybody in this field in the since 2020, and we'll say you've had to have played at least twice. Hideki is still very good. He's still at a 1.28, and he's still like the 15th best player in this field, but it is not that elite course horse history that we see if we open this up to his entire career. But again, nothing really to deter me from what I saw last week. onwards and upwards. Matt Fitzpatrick was somebody that I really liked at the American Express. He played great on Friday and Saturday, struggled on Thursday, struggled on Sunday. So 2 good rounds, 2 bad rounds. I'm willing to forgive that. That's his first start of 2026. He was awesome all winter, all fall. I don't think this is the greatest setup in the world for him, but I also don't think a lot of people are going to be rushing to click on Matt Fitzpatrick's name in DFS lineups. I think he's a viable one and done option. Where else are you going to play Matt Fitzpatrick this year? Are you going to play Matt Fitzpatrick at some really good spots for him like Harbortown? Probably not. It's a signature event. You're probably going to want to go with somebody else. Are you going to want to play Scotty Scheffler this week? Probably not, because it's not the biggest purse in the world and you can just wait and he's probably going to win something much bigger. Who do you want to play? Do you want to play Hideki here? Maybe. Do you want to play Cam Young here? Possibly. I actually think that's a pretty good one too. So I think he's probably a top 3 or 4 one and done option. Siwoo might be another one. Just kind of thinking about these off the top of my head. Victor Hovland is an enigma at the moment. I guess at all moments. Really strong. So remember the neck injury that sits him out on Sunday at the Ryder Cup. He does not play against Harris English. He then takes some time off and then runs through the DP World Tour with T6, T23, T14, outs like 26 strokes gained from tee to green in those events. Phoenix has not been good for him. I don't think he likes the raucousness of it, quite honestly. Missed cut, T42 are his 3 trips. Hasn't played it in the last 2 years, and I think there's a reason for that. On paper, this is a really good setup for him. Data perspective wise, you saw the course fit, you saw those adjustments. When I model later, he's probably going to show up as well, because I'm going to put a lot of stuff on approach. But as much as I like to stay in the spreadsheet, this feels a little off spreadsheet that this is not a spot that he's likely to often find success at. Maverick McNeely might be the my favorite guy right now. Talked about how he's just taking great steps every single week. The putter is fantastic. He's got back-to-back complete gains to start 2026, right? So gains in all 4 strokes gain categories in Waialae. He gains in all 4 at Torrey Pines. He got off to a blazing start on Sunday, and I think he was 4 under through his first 5 holes, and then he kind of was stuck in neutral after that. But he has turned into such a good player. His top 20 rate, so even his top 10 rate. So let's do it like this. Let's do everybody in this field, get rid of the Phoenix Open, this year and last year, and sort by, let's do rates here. And you got to have like at least 12 starts. Top 10 rate, his top 10 rate is 28%. It's the 6th best in this field. His top 5 rate is 18%. That is also 6th best in this field. He's got the best top 5 rate. He and Corey Connors have the best top 5 rate without a win in that period. Water finds its level. You're not going to be in contention that often without winning. Now, Scotty Scheffler's here and all that fun stuff, but T9 and T6 in his last 2 trips. So McNeely hanging here at $9,100, I imagine is going to find a lot of clicks for me this week. I think the AK range is fantastic. It's small. There's only 10 guys here, but I think you can make a case for almost everybody. The exceptions, and I'm sure this will backfire, but like the exceptions are, I don't love Harris English this week. I don't love Jordan Spieth this week. And I think Brooks Koepka is a little bit questionable. The rest I'm pretty happy with. Just to point out a couple of things. Ricky Fowler is playing some of the better golf that we've seen him play in the last couple of years. I love the way he's driving it. So he's gained strokes off the tee in 7 straight. The results are following along. They're just almost all top 20s in that time period. The only start he's made in 2026 after knocking off the rust and taking 5 months off basically was a T18 at the American Express. Ricky's got good success there. He gained strokes in all 4 rounds, and he's got good success here, obviously, at the Phoenix Open. Kind of similar to Hideki. The really, really good stuff is years ago, the runner-up, the 4th, the 11th, and the win 4 straight years was 2016 to 2019. And recently, it's not nearly as good. I would argue that he's probably playing way better golf now than he was at any point in his last 5 years. I I don't know that to be true. That's just my thought. So this is a little bit cautious because I think this could go sideways, but Ricky seems like a really good option. Jake Knapp, awesome. T11, T5. I think people are still not aware of how good this guy is. So I know that there's only, so we don't have the strokes gained approach numbers from the North Course, but he lost strokes on approach slightly last week in the 3 rounds at the South Course, and he still finished T5. That sounds like what Chris Gotterup did at the Sony Open, right? The fact that he has this immense driver, a stroke per round he's going to pick up off the tee. And here, it might be more than that because similar to like Black Desert or some other places, you can really separate yourself off the tee here. But then he's like such a good putter. He's picked up 10 strokes putting in his 8 rounds already this year. Actually, it's really only 7 measured rounds because he picked up 2 strokes per round last week, and he picked up more than a stroke per round at the Sony Open. He's a very, very, very good putter. He's also putted well here, despite not having the results. Now, he has not driven it well here. He lost 4.5 strokes off the tee last year. That's what you cannot do. The range of outcomes off the tee here is large. 4.5, you could be 4.5 to the negative, 4.5 to the positive, because you could get a situation where if you're just hitting in the desert, if you're hitting into the water, those strokes add up very quickly. If you're finding fairways and you're hitting it as long as Jake Knapp does, you're separating yourself in a big way. So I think he's a little bit more volatile than some of these other guys, but still very, very excited. He's a Scottsdale guy. He's going to have plenty of experience here, or plenty of, good vibes here. Colin Morikawa, he popped up on. So this is the tournament predictor. This is something I should probably show more frequently. I just kind of always forget, quite honestly. But this sims the golf tournament 10,000 times. Actually, last week, Justin Rose was the top value. So it looks at the odds, devigs them, runs the sims, and then shows you like what the value is. So I think the sim had Rosie winning like 4.5% of the time last week, and his odds indicated he needed to win like 1.5% of the time, something like that, if I remember correctly. But Colin Morikawa shows up as a value for this week, and once you start getting into the percentages that he's at, like, it's a pretty good value. So 3% to win the golf tournament. He gets a lot of benefit for being just an elite approach player with accuracy off the tee, so he does not bring in a lot of the trouble off the tee. You can see in his 2 trips here, which is only 2023 and only 2020, he's gained strokes off the tee, and both of those continues to struggle with the flat stick. It's probably going to be a similar refrain for Colin Morikawa every single time he tees it up until future notice. Sahith, yes, let's go. One of my favorite plays for 2026, one of my big, like, best ball season long guys, T8, T7 in his last 2 starts. He has actually only played 3 good rounds in each one of those weeks. His history here is solid. He's never missed the cut here. He's got 2 top 5 finishes. Like, this is finally, we're finally getting the Sahith, right? Underrated short game, very strong putter, just needs to avoid the trouble off the tee, and he's in a really good spot. Pearson Coody. Again, do I just pull my string and I'll talk about Pearson Coody's 3 straight top 18 finishes, including a runner-up finish last week in Phoenix, where he gained in all 4 categories, complete gain last week. Just awesome stuff. There was something else about Pearson Coody. He showed up. Where did he show up? I mean, he shows up a lot of places, but there was something I wanted to see. I don't remember, but fantastic player, drives it beautifully. Not the only thing that he can do. I think we're 4 for 4 now this year in him getting a mention on the preview show. Brooks Koepka. I'm excited to see what he does in his first week after kind of knocking off the rust. I'm excited to see him go back to Phoenix, where he's got 2 wins, a third, and has crushed it here. I'm not super excited about watching him putt for 4 rounds. He lost 5.5 strokes putting on Saturday alone, which, if you saw it, was ugly. And it's really hard to lose that many. One of the worst in the last couple seasons. I could forgive that, but he also lost the other 2 measured rounds as well. So even if you get rid of this historically bad round 3 putting, he also lost another 2 strokes putting, another stroke per round the other days. I just have a feeling that people are going to be a little excited to play Brooks, to play him at a place he's had great success, like all that. And I think I need to see one more. So 5 out of 10, 5.5, maybe 4.5, depending on what time it is when you ask me, but not someone that I'm going to end up. I'll probably just try to match the field or be a little bit below on Brooks Koepka. The 7K range has some of the hotter golfers in the field. So if you look at the trends tool, these are guys and how they're playing compared to themselves over the last 36 rounds. You see Matt McCarty is like a three quarters of a shot per round better than his 100 round baseline. And it moves him up to one of the hottest players in this field. Rasmus Højgaard as well. Thorbjorn Olsen as well. Christian Bezuidenhout as well. They're all like top 10 heat players. And they're all in this 7K range. So this is what Matt McCarty's doing. This is not just a this season thing. This goes back to the Wyndham Championship. He finished 8th at the Wyndham, put together a complete gain, and then that kicked off a stretch where he has not missed a cut since. He had the 14th at the Bay Current, the 3rd at the Black Desert, which is obviously a desert golf course, which is similar to this. Went to Australia, finished inside the top 10 there, and then already this year he's 3 for 3 in cuts made with a runner-up in Palm Springs Desert, and 18th at Torrey Pines last week, which in theory is a golf course that shouldn't even set up that well for him. Now he goes home, Scottsdale dude, gets to play desert golf, is on a freaking heater, and like I totally get it. So he's $7,700. He's playing probably the best golf that he's played since he won those like 3 times on the Korn Ferry Tour 2 years ago or whenever that was. He's probably playing some of his best golf since then, and it's just it's going to end up being a really good spot for him. Rasmus, same thing. It's not as high. I shouldn't say that. I was gonna say it's not as high end. It is, his stuff goes back to after the Wyndham. Few guys have played as much as Rasmus Højgaard since the Wyndham Championship. He did not make the playoffs. He played the Danish Open. He played the British Masters. He played in the European Masters, like fantastic results there. He had 2 podiums there. He had a podium in Jackson at the Sanderson. He had a top 10 at the DP World Tour Championship. He's made both cuts that he's played this week. The putter is starting to heat up a little bit. I worry a little bit about the approach play. He needs to be better there. You can't hemorrhage, 4, 5, 6 shots like we've seen him do at times and just rely on the rest of your game. So I think there's a chance this could go south, but T12 here last year, drove it well, picked up 5 strokes off the tee. If you drive it well, you can separate here in a big way. So Rasmus, McCarty, some of the hotter players, totally get it. Definitely in on Michael Thorbjornsen. I think he's a full throttle player, and this is a full throttle golf course. And what I like about him is even though he makes probably too many bogeys, as of right now, or last time I checked, maybe yesterday, he's number 1 in bounce back on the PGA Tour. So he does make more bogeys than he should, but he gets them back like 40% of the time, which is nice. Says a lot about his character, says a lot about his game. Finished 18th last week and lost 2 strokes putting in the 3 measured rounds that we have. Has played here once. It was last year. He finished T74. He's taken a lot of steps since then. He needs to pick apart the 5s, which I think he's capable of doing. He needs to avoid the big number, which I'm not sure that he's capable of doing. But again, kind of the game theory, the odds, the top 10 markets, the places where you're going to get like 3, 4, 5 to 1 are interesting on Thorbjornsen. And then we've got 2 problems in Tony Finau and Max Homa. Tony Finau has given the world just enough to get excited. The T11 at the Farmers, where he looked really good in the ball striking and tee to green categories. He gets the signature shot, gets the ace late on Thursday. And now he goes to Phoenix where, he's got the runner-up finish here in 2020. I think that was a playoff to Webb Simpson. Finished T14 here last time he's played. I actually kind of thought his record was better than this. Bunch of missed cuts as well. But this is just enough to get excited about Tony Finau, and I'm dubious. Still a very bad putter. The ball striking has been good in his last 2, but we're just 2 starts removed from him losing like 5.6 strokes ball striking in 2 rounds at the Sony Open. Do we think we're that far removed? Torrey Pines, a golf course that you can just unleash the driver and you're either in the short grass, or if you're Finau, like you're probably longer than your peers, not a big problem. Feels like there's a lot more trouble to get into off the tee here for Tony. So I'm nervous. Will probably not be partaking. I am a glutton for punishment though. So the buy back in on Max Homa, I know. Like he said, one bad start in his last 6 or 7. I don't even think it was all that bad. I was with him on Thursday morning. He got off to that really bad start. I think he bogeyed first 2 or the first 3 holes. And then he was pretty much fine after that. He didn't do anything spectacular. Didn't do anything spectacular on Friday. He was okay. And he misses the cut, whatever. This isn't the worst profile I've ever seen to miss a cut, right? He gained strokes off the tee. He was the tiniest of pots. He was a 0 on approach, and he lost 2.6 strokes putting, which he hasn't done since the Wyndham Championship, since he hasn't done since the end of last year. So I don't know. Scottsdale guy goes to Phoenix. I think the driver is in a better spot than it's been in a while. I'm a sucker, so getting back in on Max Homa makes sense for a sucker like me. 6K range. I mentioned it with Scotty Scheffler. It's easy to make lineups here with Scotty. You know, you look at the breakout candidates. You've got Austin Smotherman, who I'll have to see how much he costs this week. But you got like Ryo Hisatsune, who is here and prime in that breakout category. Chandler Blanchard, Adrian Dumont de Chassé, all primed in that breakout. You've got Akshay Bhatia, who got one of the better adjusted fits. He's $6,900. You've got the English guys, John Perry, Daniel Brown, or Dan Brown, Jordan Smith. Like, I think they're all playable. I think there is a lot of really strong options in this range. You know, let's look at Hisatsune, who obviously had the runner-up finish last week, but was putting together and is still putting together this unbelievable tee to green run that dates back to Napa. You know, he played a lot in the fall. He went to Australia. He started off 2026 pretty strong, right? It's as if he kind of goes as the putter goes. The 4 strokes he gained putting last week, obviously a big boost for him. He's been hit or miss on the putting surfaces here. He's played here twice. One year he lost 2.5 strokes to the field. One year, last year, he gained 2 strokes to the field. So I think that's really the only thing missing from Rio, or as I believe they would say it, like yo. Someone told me that. And I think that's a great spot for him. Michael Brennan has had this totally bizarre run of golf since his win at the Black Desert. Only one top 20. The DQ last week, which by the way, so the DQ last week, if you saw, he made notes. He took a document and he made notes on his yardage book. Now, I don't know exactly what he did, but my assumption is he drew like where the ridges are and where and how things break. This is such a weird rule. That is allowed, but you have to do it from memory. You cannot transfer from one source to another source and do that. So if Michael Brennan was sitting there, was like, oh, I just remember where these breaks are because I've played Torrey Pines before. He could have done that, but you're not allowed to transfer. And he learned that and he called it on himself and they DQ'd him. So it's like such a bizarre thing. But anyway, because he is the way that he picked up 7.5 strokes off the tee at the Black Desert, that range of outcomes, the difference between being the best driver in the field this week and the worst driver in the field this week is probably going to be like 10 shots off the tee. So what percentage of that can we allocate to Michael Brennan? We still need the rest of his game to get a little sharper. He hit it okay at the American Express. He picked up 2 strokes on approach in the 2 measured rounds that he had there, which is fantastic. So if you could give me, you know, the best case scenario for Brennan is like stroke per round off the tee, 3/4 of a stroke on approach, and then whatever we get in the short game categories is going to determine how high this finish is. So I think if he can keep it in play off the tee, which I believe that he can, it is a pretty high floor for him. And then the rest of his game will figure out how high he actually finishes. Here's Austin Smotherman. Really pops. He, excuse me. I think he was trending towards, I I thought he was inside the cut line, and then he made like a couple of big numbers late on Friday, and that kind of sent him home. I'm not ready to give up on a guy who's a very good ball striker around a golf course that demands ball striking. So there's going to be a lot of different wager options this week. Billy Horschel and Mackenzie Hughes are two of the best hole 16 players. Billy Horschel is like leads the field in birdie rate, I think, on this hole. And Mackenzie Hughes, I'm pretty sure, has never made a bogey and has hit the green like something outrageous percent of the time. Eric Van Rooyen's played I think 10 rounds, and he's never missed the green at 16. I'll try to tweet some of this stuff out, but there's a lot of fantastic stuff that can come out of this week. I want to look at Emilio Gonzalez because he did pop up on the adjusted stuff, but I want to see what the sample size is. Okay. Yeah. Won the Boise Open in August, comes up through the Corn Ferry. A couple of really high-end finishes on the Corn Ferry. 3 starts this year, 50th miscut, T65. Ball striking's pretty bad. Has he played here before? Probably not. No. Okay. Yeah, that did not uncover anything too fun. Let's see what the model uncovers. So here's what we're going to do. I want to do something a little bit freaky here. I want to do since the start of the year. So let's do since January 1st. Can I do that? 2026. Okay. To right now. And then what we are going to do is start with, oh God, I'm already freaking myself out. Let's do strokes gained total for 10. There's my baseline. Strokes gained approach last 36, 20. Strokes gained around the green since the start of this year, 15. Driving accuracy, 15. Bogey avoidance, 10. I want par 5 scoring. That's a big through line. And I think I want history. It is pretty sticky. 15. What does this give me? Oh, Scotty Scheffler's number 1. Scotty Scheffler number 1. Daniel Berger 2. He's $7,500 bucks. Hideki, Bezadenhout, Siwoo, Cam Young. Yeah, Cam Young might win this actually. Sammy Valimaki, Sahith, JJ Spawn, Ben Griffin. There's a lot of small sample sizes here because some of these guys have played once this year. Rio is 12th. Novak is 13th. All right. I need to do a couple things here. I need to favorite some guys that I don't want to forget about. So I'm going to favorite Scotty and Siwoo and Cam Young, McNeely, Knapp, Sahith. Oh, the thing with Harris English is just he like has not played well here. For whatever reason. He's constantly losing strokes on approach. I've done Pearson. I've done Michael Thorpe Bjornsson, McCarty, Rasmus. So this is what I'll do. And then basically, these will be like the core guys in my lineups. I'll click Max's name, though I might remove him later. Give me Berger since he's seconded in my model. Who else did we have down here? Kiefer, Dan Brown. I just don't want to forget about these guys. Michael Brennan, John Perry, Jordan Smith. Whoops, sorry. Anybody else? This will just be like the core. And then I'll work off it from that. Okay. I think that's it. I'll circle back on that. All right. Oh, before I forget, I guess that's it. You can sign up for RickRunGood.com. All that stuff is there. I highly encourage you to. If you could subscribe, if you found anything useful, that'd be great. Bearing down on 50K. bearing down on like 37K, but it all helps. And then I will see you guys again Tuesday on the live chat, 3 p.m. Eastern time. And then I will see you, I guess, for 8 hours a day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday on ESPN Plus, which is fantastic. So big thanks to you guys. Looking forward to it. Good luck this week. Have a blast.